we built our home in approximately 2007 and installed this Wolf electric double oven. And when we installed it, we used primarily the upper oven, rarely the bottom oven, but we did start the bottom oven while it was still under warranty, and it wouldn't work. So we had to put a service call in. We knew it was going to be covered by warranty. The service representative came out and said that there was some switch inside the oven that usually got jostled in the transportation, and he would try to reset that and see if he couldn't fix the oven. He used a special tool, and like an idiot, I didn't pay much attention to the special tool because I thought that if it got jostled in the shipping, that wouldn't happen again. So he reset the switch, and in doing so, it fixed the oven. And everything was just fine until we got ready to do a self-cleaning of the upper oven. Now, we don't hardly ever, I think the lower oven got used a few times between 2007 and now, but rarely do we use it. We almost always use the upper oven. That's one reason we decided to do the self-cleaning of the upper oven. It got dirty, needed to be cleaned. Well, didn't know, but as it turns out, by searching on the internet, when you do the self-cleaning on the upper oven, a lot of times the heat from that, it gets up to like, I think 800 degrees, the heat from that will cause the thermal cutoff switch to pop on the lower oven, and your lower oven won't work. What will happen is try to turn it on, we'll turn it on, and the fans will come on, the lights will come on, still shows it's got power to it, but it won't heat. And so I did a bunch of research on the internet, found out that what was happening is that the self-cleaning had caused that switch to pop, and people were talking about how to reset that switch. Most of them were saying that it would take a $180 service call or more for somebody to come out and do it. And they'd either take the oven out, reset it, or they'd use this special tool. And I kept trying to figure out what the special tool was that they were using to reset that switch. And it also took a while to find out exactly where it is. And I'll show you right now where that cutoff switch is. It's between the two ovens, and it's basically 18 inches back from this grate, and back towards the back of it. That's what makes it so difficult. Poor engineering on Wolf. They could have put that thing close to the front, been a lot easier to get to. So 18 inches back from here, and I'll show a picture right now of what that switch looks like so you can see it. But what I tried to do originally was I took an aluminum bar, I had a brass hook on the end of it that I riveted, and I put it through one of these slots and went in there, and the problem is the aluminum bar is too flexy, even as big as it is. And I think this is 2 inches by 1/4 inch. I'll put the correct measurements if I'm wrong about that, but I think it's 2 inches by 1/4 inch. So I put that in there, tried that. It wasn't stiff enough, so it wouldn't push the button down. Next, I thought, well, okay, what can I do next? And I had a round aluminum rod that's used to clean a .22 caliber rifle. It was long enough, and it seemed to be stiffer, so I used that with another brass hook on the end of it, stuck that in there, and that wasn't strong enough to do it. I'd heard on the internet that other people had talked about using a coat hanger wire. Not a chance is that going to work. It's got to be stiff to be able to do that. So what I did is I researched the heck out of it, couldn't find anything on the internet or YouTube about how to make that tool to be able to press that switch and get the oven fixed again. I didn't want to pay $180 for somebody to come out here. I would get to see the tool at that point, but I didn't want to pay $180 to do that. So after thinking about how to do it, I decided to make a tool, and I actually have got it made. It works. I've reset the switch. The oven's working again, but I wanted to show everybody how to make the tool if you want to help you reset that oven switch. So let's get started on how to make the tool. Okay, now for the tool. First I'm going to show the tools that did not work that I mentioned in the intro. This is the aluminum bar that I tried to use. I riveted a piece of aluminum to the end of it and it just snapped off. But first I got it in there and the bar was it's just too flexible. It didn't, you see how flexible that is, it did not work. This is the 22 cleaning rod that I put the brass tip on, and that brass tip was actually part of the cleaning kit that I just bent it. And this, again, too flexible, did not work. So those are the two that I tried. First of all, did not work. Now for what did work. And I've already reset the oven. I'm just fine-tuning this tool that I made to make it permanent and better. So for the next time, it'll be really easy to do. This is a piece of steel that I got at Home Depot, and kind of a shock because it was actually $22 for this thing. 3/16 inch thickness, 1 1/4 by 36 inches. And I remeasured the vents, and the vents are actually 1/4 inch by 2 inches, so I was correct about that. But this steel rod, and what I did to fix the oven before I'm fine-tuning this is I actually wired the nail, which I show right here. I wired that nail to the end of it and fixed it. And so, but now I'm going to mount it permanently on this metal rod, and I'll give you some measurements here so you can see kind of what the nail is. Nail's a little bit less, probably about 2 3/4 inches, I guess. And this bend, you have to make sure you don't have too much of it, or it'll hit the top of the oven. You won't be able to get it on the button. So this bend is about looks like about maybe 1/2 inch, something like that. And I'm going to mount it permanently to this steel rod. And what I did to the steel rod is I rounded the end of it, and I also have a mill, so I was able to cut this slot. And the slot is 3/4 of an inch wide, and it goes just, I'll show you how far. You can kind of see that as far as the depth. Now, a lot of you probably won't have a mill, be able to do it. What I would recommend, either you cut a slot in the end of it so you can permanently attach that nail, or you weld it if you've got a welder. But one thing you have to remember is you can't have the nail sticking up above this, because this 3/16, you've only got a 1/16 of an inch to play with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this nail, and it fits in that slot, and I've got some JB Weld Original coming epoxy, and I'm going to epoxy it in. You could do it, I've got a welder, a MIG welder. I could weld it, but I don't want to really go to the hassle setting all that stuff up just for that little bit of a weld job. Then I'd have to grind some of it down. But I'm going to take this nail and I'm going to put it on the anvil with a little bit of I've got a hand sledgehammer, and I'm going to pound it to get this kind of flat, because right now it sticks up a little bit, although I think it would fit, but I want to make sure it does. The other thing you've got to do is make sure you've got some distance between this curve on the nail and the end of the rod, because you've got to get this in first, and it'll sit up like this. You got to get that in first, and then twist the flat steel so it goes in the slot. So you got to make sure you have that. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I've got the JB Weld coming today. I'm going to get that and finish it off. When I finish it off, I'll come back and show you what the finished tool looks like. But this will work. It clearly is stiff enough to push the button, because I have pushed the button. The oven's working now, and this will give you a tool that'll save you at least $180 on a service call. So I'll get back to you when I get the thing finished. Well, it's been a few days. The tool is finished. JB Weld came in, and you can see it's in there, set down. I used this little sledgehammer and the anvil on the end of the vise to flatten it. Not completely flat, but so it actually fit the slot a little bit better, and it doesn't stick up. So I'll turn it to the side so you can see what it looks like. And it sticks out the right amount of way to get into that slot in the oven. I will say that the JB Weld seems excellent. I would highly recommend it. Just JB Weld, I'll put a picture of it up here, the original, and I understand that's the strongest that JB Weld makes. And I saw some videos testing the strength, and it's phenomenal. Probably, well, it's not as good as welding, but it's a heck of a lot easier, and I don't have to mess around with setting the welder up and just do run a small bead like that. The other thing I was thinking, I was trying to think of other ways that other people could mount that nail to the bar if they didn't have a mill like I've got. And I was thinking that if you had a drill press, a floor drill press, you might be able to stand this up on end, take a 1/8 inch bit, and you'd only have like a 32nd on either side, so it'd be really tight, but you could drill a hole in the end and stick a nail in a little ways, epoxy it in, or force it in if it's a little bit bigger, be able to do it that way. The other way you could do it is if you got a bandsaw, you could cut a slot. It would be all the way through, but with this JB Weld, I don't think you'd have any problem whatsoever in it being sturdy enough to do the pressing. Other thing you could do is a jigsaw with a metal cutting blade on it, cut a slot in it to fit the nail, and again, epoxy it in. Or, if you've got, a lot of people have welders, if you have a welder, just weld it in and then grind it down where it's flat. But anyway, so that's the tool. It looks like it turned out exactly perfect. I'll now show, I'll go inside the house and show how you fit it into that slot to get it to work on, push it down that button. And here's a demo of the new tool and how to use it. Just take the hook, turn sideways, slide it in, slide the tool in, flashlight on the other side with one of your hands, guide this back to the button, and then leverage and push it down. That should do the trick.